Well, that said, I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. So I'm going to take the moment to welcome each of you to this morning's DOB Now licensing training session for the winter 2026 release. In this morning's session, we're going to be primarily focusing on the master fire suppression piping contractor licenses. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive right in. And as always, there are some best practices for the virtual classroom. As my colleague Diego did mention earlier, the chat feature is available in this morning's session. So if you do have any questions, you can go ahead and drop those questions into the chat feature, and our subject matter experts will be able to get a response over to you. If you are dialed in from your phones or signed in from your computers, we do ask that you keep your microphones muted for this morning's session. And as always, questions are always welcome and encouraged. You can drop those again through the chat feature. We do have a parking lot feature. So if you do have a question that a subject matter expert isn't immediately able to find an answer for, they will be able to use the parking lot feature to get that answer back to you at a later time. As always, feedback is always welcome and participation is always encouraged. So let's go ahead and dive right into our agenda this morning. We're going to first kick off with the overview of the Master Fire Suppression Piping Contractor License. We'll then shift over to our required documents, followed by a review of the statuses, licensing fees, the licensing process flow, register and pay for a license exam, how to log into DOB Now licensing, the new license application process, responding to objections and requesting reconsideration, getting the license, renew license, manage license, how to update the name and or the address, as well as some important notes towards the end. So moving along, for our master fire suppression piping contractor in New York City, is a licensed professional approved by the Department of Buildings to perform fire suppression piping work in one of the 5 boroughs. An applicant can apply for either a Class A, B, or C license or a certificate only. A master fire suppression piping contractor registration currently is valid for 3 years. There is a business address verification, business approval, and insurance requirement as part of being a Class A, B, C licensed master fire suppression piping contractor. Now, an applicant can apply directly for any of the license classes. There is no prerequisite license. Licensees can only hold one license class at a time. So now let's get into the fire suppression license type. So on the chart on this slide here, in our first left-hand column, we have our license type. And then on the second column on the right-hand side, we have the description of the work performed by that particular license type. So for our Class A license type, the Class A performs suppression work that includes any standpipe system to which a sprinkler system exists or is now being connected, or up to 30 sprinkler heads off the domestic water in any one building. Any dry, liquid, or gaseous chemical fire contaminant, suppression, control, or extinguishing system, or any device or means of control, suppression, containment, or extinguishing of fire. For a Class B license type, Class B performs suppression work that includes any standpipe system to which a sprinkler system is or is now being connected, or up to 30 sprinkler heads off the domestic water in any building. And for our Class C license type, the Class C license performs any dry, liquid, or gaseous chemical fire containment, suppression, control, or extinguishing system of, or any other device or means of control, suppression, containment, or extinguishing of fire. Now, to become a New York City licensed master fire suppression piping contractor, an applicant is required to meet the license criteria, so age, language, experience, etc., pass the written examination, begin the application in DOB Now licensing, upload all required documentation, pay any required fees, submit the license application, as well as complete the business approval request for the Class A, B, or C license. Now, for the qualifications, to become a New York City licensed master fire suppression piping contractor, applicants are required to meet these qualifications: be at least 18 years old, be able to read and write the English language, be fit to perform the work authorized by the license, and have good moral character. Now, for more details about becoming a master fire suppression piping contractor, you can visit the DOB website. Now, for the examinations, master fire suppression piping contractor applicants must pass a written examination beginning their application for a new license. The aspiring licensee must go to the DOB Now public portal to pay for their exam, and once the payment is processed, the exam vendor will contact the applicant to schedule the exam. The fee for the written exam is $585. For the business approval, to obtain a Class A, B, or C license, the applicant is required to be an officer, partner, or sole proprietor of a business or company, and the business must have an office in New York City that complies with all zoning code regulations. If a fire suppression piping contractor submits an application with two businesses, both businesses must reside at the same location. For business approval request, or BAR, and business address verification will be available for all Class A, B, or C licensees. Now, to obtain a master fire suppression piping contractor certificate only, applicants don't need to be associated with a business, and there is no need for a business approval request or a BAR. So for receiving your license, after the license application is approved, licensees will need to sign the executive attestation and schedule an appointment to come into the DOB office to receive their license and temporary seal letter, not for certificate only. Now, the seal will be ordered by the Department of Buildings after you complete your executive attestation. When the Department of Buildings has received your seal, you will receive an email telling you to come into the DOB to pick up your seal. So let's shift over a little bit and talk about our documents for a new license. And the overview of which documents are required for new license applications, renewals, and reissues can be found in the required document spreadsheet, which is linked in this presentation, which will be available for you once the presentation is posted to the Department of Buildings website. So stay tuned for that one. And for our statuses, for our license statuses, all statuses that can apply to license requests can be found in the licensing statuses document, which, as I mentioned earlier, can be accessed using the link here in this presentation, which will be posted and be available on the Department of Buildings website, which will be made available to you. For our fees, for license request fees, all license request fees can be found in the licensing fees document. Now, that licensing fees document will be posted to the Department of Buildings website along with this presentation for you to access once it's been posted. Now, for late fees for license renewal apply if the renewal request is filed 30 days or fewer before the expiration date of the license, or up to 1 year after the expiration date of the license. Now let's talk about these steps to get our license, or the steps to get a license. Now, these are the steps for applying for any license or registration. And for master fire suppression piping contractors, they are required to register and pay for and pass a written exam before the application is started. So the process was going to start in our flow chart. Now our flow chart is going to follow the happy path scenario. Our applicant is going to complete the application. They're going to pay the fees and submit the application in DOB Now licensing. After that happens, the Department of Building is going to complete that review. And if everything goes well, the Department of Building approves the license and registration application if everything goes according to plan. From there, the applicant will schedule the appointment, and the DOB will issue the license and registration card as applicable. Now, continuing on the steps to get a new license, for master fire suppression piping contractor class A, B, or C full licenses, the initial license qualification application must be followed by a business approval request or a bar. Now, once the background review is complete, the applicant will be notified that their qualification is approved and they need to submit a BAR. The license will only be granted after the business approval request or bar is submitted and approved. And as you see at the top of our slide here, this is the full status bar for licenses which require a bar, and they'll go from pre-filing to pending background review to the qualification approved, the approval letter sent, approved license issuance pending, license card issued, temporary seal letter granted, all the way to sealed issued. Now, let's talk about how to register and pay for a license exam. So for master fire suppression piping contractors, they must pass a written exam. And to be eligible to take the written exam, applicants cannot have taken the exam within the last 14 days or 3 or more times in the past 6 months. Now, the exams are not given by the Department of Buildings. Once an exam is paid for, it will be scheduled through an approved exam vendor. Applicants will then upload their score report as part of the DOB application. Now, when they're on the portal, the applicants do not need to log in to register and pay for an exam. What they will do is from the DOB Now homepage at nyc.gov/DOB Now, they're going to select the option for license exam application/payment. And once they have done so, the applicants can either make a new payment, or in the event of a return check, they can select the option for repayment of exam fee, parentheses, return check. Now, when they choose the option for new payment, the system is going to open the exam fee details pop-up window. And from there, you're going to complete all fields, and then you'll select Create. And you'll only be able to select the Create button once all of the required fields are completed. When you click on that, a pop-up notification is going to appear, and it's going to state that the record was saved, and click OK to continue. After you click on OK, a pop-up payment confirmation notification will ask you to confirm that you want to make the payment. If you wish to make the payment, click on Yes. So once you click on Yes, a new Proceed to Pay button will appear. And the pop-up confirmation The pop-up payment confirmation notification will ask you to confirm again. You'll click on yes to continue. From there, you're going to be taken to the CityPay website after the confirmation to pay the exam fee either by e-check, credit card, or PayPal Venmo. The payments made by e-check, however, can take up to 10 business days to process. CityPay will provide a receipt that the payment has been made, and a notification on the DOB Now homepage will also confirm the payment, and the information will be sent to the exam vendor, who will contact the applicant directly to schedule the exam. Now, how to register and pay for an exam. So if you're selecting a repayment of exam fee in the event of a return check, so if your check happened to bounce, this will bring up the option to search for the payment by license class, your receipt number, and last name. Once it is found, you will then be navigated to CityPay to complete the payment. So now that we talked about payment, we're going to dive into how to log into DOB Now licensing. For DOB Now integrated with the NYC ID in June of 2024, requiring all returning and new users to have an NYC ID account to log into DOB Now. The one-time process for existing DOB Now users would be to simply log into DOB Now, create an NYC ID account, confirm the email to activate the account, and then proceed to log into DOB Now. If you are a brand new user, the one-time process for new users is to log into DOB Now, proceed to create the NYC ID account, activate the account with the confirmation email, log into DOB Now. You'll then create your profile to associate the licenses, and then proceed to the DOB Now dashboard. Now, from the DOB Now login page, if you have an e-filing account, DOB Now profile, or NYC ID, you will enter the same email address associated with all your filings in DOB Now. You will then be redirected to the NYC ID registration page. If you do not already have an NYC ID, you will be directed to create one. And if you already have an NYC ID, you'll then be directed to enter the password associated with your NYC ID. And for the step-by-step guides and videos, you can visit nyc.gov/DOB Now tips. So how to apply for the new license, we're going to dive into the license qualification application process in our next section here. So to apply for a new license or registration, you will log into DOB Now. And when you log into DOB Now, you're going to hover your mouse over the DOB Now licensing module or the icon, and then you're going to select the option for new license. From the dashboard, you will then click on the new license button to begin the application process. After you clicked on the new license button, you will select the radio button next to the license type and then click on next. A license or class type will also need to be selected, and you will select the appropriate radio button and then click on next. The system is going to prompt you with a question. Applicants must certify that they took the exam. So you'll answer yes or no to whether you've taken the exam. And the system will then ask you to enter the written exam pass date. Once you have done so, you'll click on Submit. From there, you will be brought to the Supplemental Investigation Questionnaire. You will click the appropriate answers to all questions asked on the supplemental investigation questionnaire. The questions will differ depending on the license type. You will then click Submit at the bottom of the window. Now, once the questionnaire is submitted, the information provided cannot be changed. Further down on the General Information tab, you will enter all of the required fields on the General Information tab, including if they are not already automatically populated, the home telephone number, the borough, personal information, and the filing representative or preparer information if appropriate. So if you had a filing rep or preparer assisting, they would enter that information as well. Now, details on what information will be required does vary depending on the license type. Now, if you do not have a DOB license, general information is auto-populated from your NYC ID and DOB Now account. So to change your name or email address, you will select the Manage Associate License dropdown from the person icon in the top right corner, and then you will select the link to update your NYC ID account. And then to change your address information, you will select the Edit button. Now, if you have an existing DOB license, the General Information section will be automatically filled in from that license information. Now, to update licensee name, address information, you will follow the instructions in the Manage Profile section of this presentation, which we'll be discussing further on. Now, before you complete and save the application, you are going to be required to indicate if you are a city employee, yes or no. After, you will proceed to click Save. When you click on Save, a notification is going to appear, which will display information. Now, this information cannot be changed after saving. If you do wish to move forward, you will then select Save again. After you click that second Save, you will then click OK on the notification confirmation that the application has been saved. So at this point, I'm going to pause, and I'm actually going to go ahead and shift over to our training environment, and we're actually going to do this one together. So I'm going to switch over, and we're going to go into our system here. So in my case, I do need to log in. So give me a split second. So we're first logging in from the DOB Now homepage. And then from there, as we see, it's bringing me over to the NYC ID login page. So I'm going to log in using my credentials for NYC ID for this account. And after I log in, I'm going to be brought to the DOB Now landing page first. Now we see that I do have multiple options. And for this morning's licensing session, I'm going to hover my mouse cursor over the DOB Now licensing icon, and I'm going to select the option for New License. And just give me a quick second, because I did have one here that was from an earlier session, so I'm going to go ahead, and now that I'm at my dashboard, we're going to start fresh, and we're going to select the button here at the top for a new license. Now, when I selected that new license button, we see that this pop-up window has appeared, and the pop-up window is asking me to indicate the license type that we are attempting to apply for. So for our scenario this morning, we are going to select the license type of Master Fire Suppression Piping Contractor, and we're going to click on Next. When we click on Next, the system is going to ask me for the license class or class type, whether we're a class A, B, C, or a certificate only. For the sake of simplicity this morning, we're going to select class A. We'll click on next. And now the system is going to ask me my yes or no question. Did I take the written exam? If I select yes, it will ask me for my written exam pass date. In the event that I had not taken my written exam yet and I selected no, the system is going to give me a notification that a written exam is required to apply for a master fire suppression piping contractor license. So in our case, we're going to assume that I've taken my exam and I did pass it. So we're going to click on our date field. And when we click on the little calendar icon, it brings up the calendar that we can select the date from. So let's say I took my test and I passed my exam on the 15th of January. As soon as I selected my date, my supplemental questionnaire questions have become active, and now I'm able to answer my questions as appropriate. So from there, I'm going to go into my supplemental investigation questions. Am I at least 18 years old? Am I able to read and write the English language? Are you of good moral character? We're going to assume so. Are you fit to perform the work authorized by this license application? And you'll select yes or no as appropriate depending on your situation. And then you'll select either yes or no to the following questions. Afterwards, you will click on the submit button. Now, the system is going to remind you after you click on submit, the selections, the answers to the questions that I just selected, they cannot be changed after this is submitted. Are you sure you want to submit? Pause for a moment, make sure everything is correct. If everything is correct, you can go ahead and click on yes to proceed. If you say, uh-oh, I made a mistake and I didn't mean to check a particular answer, you can always select no, and then you can go back and modify your answer before clicking submit. So let's say we corrected it, everything's good to go. We're going to say, yes, we are sure we want to submit. When we click on yes, the system now brought me into my general information tab. So for my general information tab, I am going to now select my license use, and you can select what's most appropriate for your situation. And then you're going to also enter in the personal information. And when you click on the date of birth section, it does bring up the calendar date feature. So you can select the date as appropriate. And then you would enter in the personal information as well. And then at the very bottom, you're going to answer yes or no to the question, are you a city employee? In this case, I'm going to select no for this morning's training. And you're going to click on save. Now, at this point, I've clicked on save. The system is now going to give me this notification here, and it's basically confirming my application type is for a new license. I'm applying for a master fire suppression piping contractor. The license class or class type I selected was Class A, and it's confirming that I entered the correct email address associated for this. If everything is good to go, I'm going to click on save. Now, once I do so, it's going to take the system a moment just to save and process that. And it says that the application has been saved. So now you see a whole bunch of things just lit up on my window here. So after I click on OK, we see that now we have this application number. So we're going to keep that handy. And we're going to now switch back into our slides now. And we're going to proceed with the second half of our section. So now after the application was saved, as we just saw when we were playing in the live environment together, the application is saved. A message will appear at the top of the page to complete all required fields that have a red asterisk. Once the Save button is selected, additional sections will appear. Complete all required sections and then select the Pay Now button. After payment is submitted, select the Preview to File button to submit the application. Now, if the status bar above indicates a pre-filing status, it has not been submitted to the Department of Buildings for review. And the status bar will also appear at the top of this page. And the details of the status bar, these details will differ depending on the license type that you're applying for. So further along, the license application number will be assigned. And as we saw earlier, when I said that the whole screen lit up, 5 more tabs are going to appear to be completed. And those are background investigation, qualifications and experience, the child support certification, the documents tab, and the statements and signature section. And going down through each section, beginning with the background investigation section, when you go to the background investigation tab, you're going to click on that tab first. And then when you're in the background investigation tab, you're going to click on the Add History button to enter details of any license, certification, or registration issued to the applicant by any city or state. And at least one license, certification, or registration is required in this section. Further down in the background investigation, for each license, you will enter the name, the type, the license, certification, or registration number, the current status, the expiration date, and then you're going to click on Save. Further down, you're going to indicate if you have a valid driver's license or not. The system will also prompt you to enter the state where issued and the driver's license number. So after you enter the driver's license number, if any licenses or government granted privileges have been denied, rescinded, revoked, surrendered, suspended, or disqualified, you will explain those details in the comments field. Now, depending on the license type, additional questions may appear. You do need to answer all questions. Now, the education section may appear, and when that education section appears, you're going to click on the button for Add Education, and you'll fill out the details in the pop-up window and click on Save. And then further down for the personal information section, you're going to answer if you have ever been known by any other names, and if yes, you will click the Add History button to enter any prior names, and then you'll click Save when done. Further down, you're going to answer the yes or no questions about whether the applicant has worked for a city, state, or federal government agency, and whether they are related to any Department of Buildings employees. Any yes answers, either here or above, are going to require an explanation, and you're going to enter that explanation right here in the comments field. Further down, you're going to enter the full address of all residences where the applicant has lived for 3 or more months within the past 10 years, or since they left high school, whichever is less. You'll start from the residence section, clicking on the Add Residence button. And when you click on the Add Residence button, the residence window is going to appear. From there, you're going to start with the most recent address and information, then click on Save. You'll continue to repeat that Add Residence process until you've satisfied the either past 10 years or since they've left high school, whichever was less. And like we said, you can repeat as many times as necessary. And when you click on Save on that residence screen, the system is going to display a notification confirming that that residence has been added to the application. Further down, when you move down to the Qualifications and Experience tab, you're going to click on the Qualifications and Experience tab from the left-hand side of your page. And on this page, you're going to answer the yes or no questions about the convictions and fines. Now, the questions asked will depend on the license type being requested. Now, if you have any yes answers, a new tab will appear in the when the application is saved, called the Supplemental Affidavit tab. And you'll explain all yes answers in that particular tab. Further down, for the employment history, you'll enter the employment history for each job the applicant is using as qualifying experience. And for that, you'll click the Add Employment History button. And when you click on that button and enter the work history, you're going to, starting with the current job and then going in reverse chronological order. And when you have that employment history information screen open, you're going to enter all required information on that employment information tab. When you finish with the employment information tab, you're going to then proceed over to the wages detail tab of the employment history information screen. And on the wages detail tab, you're going to enter the title, time period, wages per hour, hours per week, and the description of type of work performed. Each time you've done so, you'll click on Add, and you'll repeat for any other titles held at that company. After you are complete, you will click on Save to complete that entry. Now, what you will see, again, is the supplemental investigation questionnaire is going to display the answers that were selected when initiating the application early on. Since you've already answered these questions, this entire section is going to be read-only and cannot be edited. Further down, you're going to see the Child Support Certification tab. And on the Child Support Certification tab, you're going to answer either yes or no if you are under a court or administrative order to pay child support. And any yes answers on this screen are going to open additional questions to enter additional information. Now, for the Supplemental Affidavit tab, this Supplemental Affidavit tab, as we mentioned earlier, appears only if yes was answered to questions about convictions or penalties and fines on the Qualifications or Experience tab. You will then proceed to enter the details as appropriate. For your conviction details, when you click on Add, the conviction details pop-up is going to appear, and you will enter data into the conviction details pop-up regarding the date of conviction, the charge or offense, the name of the court, location of court, as well as the sentence or disposition. For any penalty and fine details that you are going to be providing on the supplemental affidavit, you're going to enter the details on the penalty and fine details pop-up, including the debtor, whether that's self or company, the company name, the amount owed, and specify the New York City agency or authority, such as sanitation, fire department, Department of Environmental Protection, NYPD, buildings, or other. From there, all required documents will be listed on the Documents tab. And for the documents, you're going to click the Upload button to add that particular document. And for, as we mentioned earlier, you can reference the licensing required documents overview spreadsheet for an overview of which documents are required for new license applications. And as we mentioned earlier, this will be posted to the DOB website as well as that spreadsheet. From there, after you've clicked on the upload button adjacent to that document, you will then click on the Choose File button, and you will be able to navigate to that document on your computer. From there, you'll be able to upload that document, and you will then click the Upload button to complete the upload process for that specific document. You will also have access in your Documents tab an Add Document button, and you may use the Add Document button to add additional supporting documents as well. Now, if an additional supporting document is removed while the license application is in objections or QA failed status, the removed document will appear in the Documents Removed by User section. Further down, after you've uploaded your documents, you'll proceed down to the Statements and Signatures tab of the application, and the applicant will click on the checkboxes to provide the attestations to sign the application. And additional attestations are going to appear for the Background Investigation Questionnaire, Voluntary Authorization for Service of Process by Email, Supplemental Investigation Questionnaire, and Child Support. You will answer all attestations appropriately. So at this point, we're going to go back into our license application, and we're going to proceed from where we left off earlier. So we left off after we had clicked on Save, and then all of our additional tabs appeared right after that. So just as we saw in the deck a few moments ago, we're going to very quickly go through each section. So starting with our Background Investigation tab, we're going to first start with our license history, and we're going to add our history by clicking on the Add History button. And we're going to enter in our license information. So we're going to enter our license information, the type. We're going to enter the certification or license number. We're going to now indicate its current status and the expiration date. And once you've clicked on Save, the system will confirm that the license history has been added. If you do wish to add additional history to the license history section, you would just repeat the same step again. You will then proceed down to our yes or no questions. So we'll indicate the question, do we currently have a valid driver's license? Now, depending on how we answer the questions, additional options may appear. So we're going to specify where our driver's license was issued. So we're going to type in the state that it was issued. And it will also enter in the driver's license number. We will then answer the question, have any license applications ever been denied to you by the Department of Buildings or any other government entity? And we'll select yes or no. Now remember, if we just select yes, the system's going to ask us for more information. But in our case, we're going to say no. And we're going to also answer yes or no to the following question, have any licenses or privileges granted to you or your associated businesses by the Department of Buildings or any other government entity ever been rescinded, revoked, and so on. And if we answered yes, we see that the comment section appears to where we can provide more details and context regarding that yes answer. But in our case, we're going to say no. In the event that you're using your educational history towards your qualification, you can always click on the Add Education button, and then you would select the education type and enter in the institution or name of the college. And after we clicked on that, the system confirms that the education has been added. If you did wish to add additional educational history, you can go ahead and click the Add Education button again. Further down, you will enter in your personal information history, such as the other names you were known by. You would then indicate, have you ever been employed by a city, state, or federal agency? You'll answer yes or no to those two questions, as well as if you were related to any DOB employees, including through marriage. You will then proceed to enter your residence history, as we mentioned earlier, for the past 10 years or since high school, whichever is less. From there, you will then proceed to the qualifications and experience tab, where you will answer the yes or no questions regarding convictions or fines. And remember, on this one, depending how we answer these yes or no questions, will trigger the supplemental information tab. So we click the questions as appropriate. You would add your employment history, as well as your supplemental investigation questionnaire, which, as a reminder, does appear as read-only because you already answered these questions early on. After that, you're going to proceed to the child support certification section, and you're going to select either yes or no for your child support obligations. If you do select yes, the system will ask for more information regarding the child support. And if you select no, you can proceed on. You would then proceed to your documents section. And from your documents section is where you're going to upload your documents. So for the example, the first doc here, you would click on this upload button adjacent to the document, and you would then click on choose file, and then upload the appropriate document, and then click on upload. Now, once you have clicked on the button, the system will process the document, and you'll receive the notification that it has been uploaded. You would repeat that same step for each of the required documents, and it would be the same action if you were adding any additional supplemental documentation. From there, you're going to proceed to your statements and signatures tab. And here's where you're going to check your attestation checkboxes to provide your signature. And each of these does require an answer. So now after I do this, at this point, you would then click on the Pay Now button on the right-hand side of your page. And when you click on the Pay Now button, the system is going to bring you over into the City Pay system, which will allow you to use a credit card, e-check, or PayPal or Venmo. Afterwards, your payment is processed. You will then be able to click on the Preview to File button, and then from the Preview to File button, you'll be able to submit your application from there. And then once it does so, and the filing has been submitted for your application, you'll see the status move from pre-filing to pending background review. And as we just mentioned, we click on the Preview the File button. You'll go through the application preview. And when you click to the application preview, when you get to the very last page after clicking Next, you'll then have a final attestation checkbox to click on. And then when you click on File, you'll be able to then submit the application. And once you have done so, the system is then going to display a notification pop-up that the application has been submitted, and you'll click on OK on that pop-up. And here you'll see that the application status has moved from pre-filing to pending background review. So at this point, you're in good shape. And then what you'll also see, you'll receive an email that your license application has been submitted and is awaiting review. So let's shift gears a little bit, and we're going to head over to our next section. And we're going to go over responding to objections or requesting reconsideration. Now, the background unit has 3 options for responses to license application. The first option they have is approved. And for approved, the background investigation is complete, and the license application can move forward for review by the licensing unit. If it is in objections, there is an issue with the license application, and that must be addressed by the applicant before the background investigation can be completed. The third is denied. Now, for denied, the license application cannot be approved with the information given. The applicant can request to reconsider the denial. Now, if there is an objection raised on a license application, the applicant will receive a notification email. Here's an example of what that email would look like. Now, to respond to the objection, the applicant will log into DOB Now Licensing, and from the My Applications tab on the applicant's dashboard, they're going to open the application that's in the objection status. Now, what you're going to see on the left-hand side is a new objections tab, and that tab will display the objections. And from within that tab, you'll be able to click on this drop-down arrow to see the comments regarding that objection. So what I'm going to do here, just as we did earlier, we're going to go back into the system ourselves, and we're going to check on one together. So we're going to go ahead and log in as our applicant. And same as before, we're going to go into our DOB Now licensing section, and we're going to go into our dashboard. Now, from our dashboard, we are going to go to we're going to go into here. And let's see what we have here. Let's give us 1 second, because we want to make sure we have ours in an objection status. Just give us a quick second. We're actually going to go ahead. We're getting our rejected filing opened.
Andre, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Oh, I'm just waiting for the portal to catch up to us. I needed our application here. So now we have our application here, which is in an objection status. And so we can do two things. We can either go back into the application by double clicking along the application, or we can click on the little action column here and click on our view button. And system's going to give us a confirmation. Yep, this is the one we want to open. And once the application does load for us, we're going to see that we have our objections tab on our left-hand side. So we're going to take a look at the objections tab, and we're going to see what's going on here. So let's see what was the reason for our objection. So we're going to click on the little down arrow here. And it looks like the reviewers told us that the wrong document was uploaded. So that's indicating what was going on, which triggered this objection. So let's go ahead and head over to our document section. And it looks like they rejected our Social Security history of earnings. So I'm looking in my document status tab, and it looks like they rejected my Social Security earnings document. So in that case, I can go back in and upload the correct document. And once the document's uploaded, we can then proceed back to the objections section. And when we do so, we're going to edit the action here. We're going to enter a comment saying what we did to resolve it. And then we're also going to click on this resolve action. And before we proceed, because we did make a change, we do need to click on our statements of signatures again to reattest. So we're going to do our check boxes again, and then you're going to click on save. And when you click on save, you're also going to click on the resubmit button. So as you saw me do earlier when we were just in the system, any additional comments you can enter into the comment box. You'll click on the resolve button. You will add the documents as you just witnessed me perform in the documents section, or otherwise update the application as needed. You'll then complete the attestations on the statements and signatures tab. So we did the check boxes. And you'll click on save and resubmit to resubmit the updated license application. The application will not be reviewed again until it is resubmitted. So it's super critical that you click that resubmit button. So requesting reconsideration. Now, if a license application has been denied by the background unit, the applicant has 60 days to request that application be reconsidered. So we do want to note that if you have a reconsideration request in pre-filing, you must file it by day 60. On day 61, you will no longer be able to submit that. So for reconsideration can only be requested once. If the reconsideration is denied, a new application must be submitted. And from the My Applications tab on the dashboard, you will choose Reconsider from the Filing Action dropdown on the denied license application. From there, you will select Save on the Reconsider application, and then on the Documents tab, you would upload a reconsideration statement affidavit explaining the reconsideration request. And there is no fee for submitting a reconsideration request. The request is not submitted until Preview to File is selected. Okay. So I am going to go ahead and show you real quick an objection before I transition over to my colleague. So we're going to go back into our training environment, and we're going to go back to our dashboard.
Andre, we did the objection, actually.
I'm sorry, for the reconsideration?
We can... reconsideration is very straightforward. Let's move on because I want to make sure we finish up.
Okay.
I'm going to take over the screen share. Hi, everyone. My name's Martha, and I'm going to be taking over the presentation. So once you have submitted your initial application and the initial application is approved, you will then, for Class A, B, or C, need to submit a business approval request. So the application status will change to qualification approved, business application pending. From here, at the top of the dashboard, you're going to click the business approval button. On the pop-up, you're going to enter the approved license application number from your application, and then you'll click submit. And you're going to be brought into the bar form. From here, the first thing you have to do is click save and click yes on the confirm pop-up. A request number will be assigned, something beginning with BAR, and the add business information button over here will become active. From here, you'll click plus add. You're going to be brought into the business information data entry. And there's a bunch of information you're going to need to fill in. You'll need to answer if you're creating a new business or if you're joining an already approved existing business. You'll need to enter the business information. Now, the business type options are corporation, limited liability company, partnership, sole proprietor, or individual. And there are address types, and the address types are primary and secondary. You would put those in for your primary business, and if you are including a secondary business, you would choose secondary for the address type. For corporations, LLCs, or partnerships, you are required to enter partner or officer information. The add button there will not be active until you click save on the business information section. When you click that plus add button, the partner or officer information pop-up will show up. You're going to need to enter information on the first partner or officer and then click save. You repeat that for each partner or officer. And once you have entered each partner or officer, they're going to show up under the partner or officer information section. And you'll have the option of editing or deleting the details for that partner or officer. Below that, you will see the insurance section. General liability insurance is required for all businesses. So you need to fill in your policy number, your start date, the expiration date, and the broker information. Workers' compensation insurance and disability insurance may be waived, or you may enter that information. If you choose to waive either or both of these insurances, there's different information that needs to be entered. You're going to need to enter the certificate number, the received date, the end date, and the broker information for each waived insurance type. And then at the bottom of that first page, you can add comments. From there, we'll go to the Documents tab and upload the documents the same way we talked about before. The documents required will be based on the business type. From there, you're going to go back to the General Information tab of the bar. So let me show this to you so it's clear. So I have a license here that is in qualification approved, business application pending status. And I need to get this application number. So I'm going to just copy that application number and hit cancel. And then I'm going to click on the plus business approval button. I enter my copied license application number and click submit. And it looks like I already had one, so I need to delete that and show this to you again. We've been practicing this presentation, so we've been doing this a few times. So I'm going to enter the approved license application number and click submit. And it brings me here into the business information. First thing I need to do is click save and confirm that I want to create a business application, a bar. Once I click save, the plus add button becomes active. When I click it, it actually takes me into a new section where I enter the business information. So I'm going to enter the business name, the type, the employer information number, email, business telephone. You'll see I've entered some of these before. And I need to enter the address. You'll enter the correct block and lot number. I'm just putting in ones so that we can move quicker. And then you hit save. I need to confirm that I want to save it. And once I click save, another question shows up. It asks if the business was established prior to 1/25/1990. I'm going to say no for here. That it's a more recent one. And then I can start entering the partner or officer information. This is required. So I click plus add, and I enter the information for the first partner or officer. Including their license number, the percent control they have of the business, and their title. And then I click save. Oops, need to enter the city. One of the things I like about this system is that if you miss something, the system will tell you what you need to fix. And you repeat that for each of the partners or officers. Now, as I scroll down, you'll see there's insurance information. I must enter the general liability insurance because that is required. And then it'll ask me, is the workers' compensation insurance waived? If I do not waive it, I need to enter the policy number, start date, expiration date, and broker information. If it is waived, I need to enter the certificate number, the received date, the end date, and the broker information. So I need to enter the appropriate information when I select each option. I'm going to go ahead and click save now. And then we go to the documents tab. And the documents are going to be based on the type of business that it is, and also things like, the answers to the questions. So I only need to enter an insurance certificate for the types of insurance that I hold. So it will tell you exactly what you need to enter, and you're going to upload all of them. And then you're going to click save once you've done all of that. And then you need to go back to the filing, because master fire suppression piping contractor licenses are required to have at least one business and cannot have more than two businesses. But you can have two businesses. So once you have finished adding the information about the first business, if you have a second, you're going to click add again. And in order to, you cannot submit from inside the business information section here. You need to go back to the filing. And then, as we'll see in a moment on the PowerPoint, there is a statement that you have to sign by clicking. And then you click save, and from there you can submit. So there's an attestation to click. And you'll click save and then submit to complete the bar. There is no fee for submitting a bar. All of the business approval requests will show up on the business approval tab of the dashboard. So the main application will be on my applications, and the business approval request will show up on the business approval tab. So let's say you've done all of this and you have approval. Once your application is approved, you're going to get an email notification that you need to schedule an appointment. So you're going to log into DOB Now Licensing, and on the My Applications tab, the application status will be Approval Letter Sent. Double click on the application to open it and click OK on the pop-up. The very first thing you need to do, it won't let you do anything until you do this, is you need to go to the Statements and Signature tab and scroll down in order to sign the executive order attestation. There's two boxes you must click. Once you've done that, click save. At that point, you are going to be able to go to the Appointments tab, and you're going to click plus Schedule Appointment. The new appointment window will open. You'll select an appointment date from the calendar, and then there's a drop-down menu to select the appointment time. Do that, click schedule, and then click yes to confirm the selected appointment date and time. The appointment details will be listed on the appointment tab. If you have, for some reason, need to cancel this appointment, you can cancel it from right here. You'll click on the cancel button. You will get an email notification confirming the appointment. you need to come into the licensing unit, which is located at 280 Broadway, first floor in Manhattan. The applicant is required to be the one to attend the appointment. A representative cannot obtain the license card. The license card and the temporary seal letter, if appropriate, will be issued at the appointment that you scheduled with DOB. If a picture is necessary, it will be taken during that appointment. So maybe comb your hair. Once you have scheduled your appointment, DOB is actually going to order your seal if you're a class A, B, or C. When the seal is ready, you're going to get another email notifying you that you can come into DOB to pick it up. You do not need an appointment to pick up your seal. You just come in during any of the times that the office is open. So that's the new license process. But some of you may already have licenses. So let's talk about some of the things you may do once you have the license. For example, you might need to renew your license. Now, this is going to be the renewal process for anyone who has a license after this goes live. This is, even if you got your license through not through DOB Now, you will still renew it through DOB Now licensing. Licenses can be renewed starting 90 days before the expiration date and up to 1 year after the expiration date. To initiate a renewal, there's a button that says Renew License. You're going to click on, and then a list of licenses that you have will pop up. It may only have one, it may have more than one, depending on what you have. Select the radio button for the license that you're renewing and click Proceed. You will be asked if it is a renewal with change. If you say yes, there's going to be some options to enter what information is changing. The options that are available depend on the license or registration being renewed, and I'll show this to you in the system in a minute. You'll click Next. Your renewal form is going to be auto-filled with the existing data from your existing license. First thing you have to do is click Save, and then click Save again on the notification pop-up, and then click OK on the confirmation pop-up. So notification, confirmation. Update all information that has changed. Even in a renewal without change, some information may be updated. For example, you may be able to update your insurance information. You'll upload any required documents. And again, you can see the document spreadsheet for details. You're going to click the check boxes for the attestations on the Statements and Signatures tab. And then you'll pay the renewal fee. Click Preview to File to submit your renewal request. So you'll click the checkbox, make the payment, and then click Preview to File. Let me show this process to you. So I need to log in as someone else because we have different things set up. So I'll just do this very quickly. And now I'm going to log in, as a different person. Oh, it's not working, so I'll type it in. So that didn't work. Let me try this one more time. Because this is a new person, I need to enter the information into the NYC ID. We're going to go into DOB Now licensing. So this is my license that needs to be renewed. So We're going to go to renew license. And we're going to renew our master fire suppression piping contractor license. Notice that this expired on 12/1/2025. If I say it is a renewal with change, it's going to give me some options for what information can be changed. And you'll notice as you click things, some information will appear because you can't do everything together. So for example, this one you can only do with those. So the system will only let you change the information that you want to change. So if you click no to a renewal with change, there's a lot less that you can change, and there still will be some information that you can change. You come into the renewal, first thing you do is click save. At this point, you'll see that we've got the status bar and all of the different information. And I'll make any changes that I need to make. It'll only let me make the changes that are required, that are allowed. But for example, for renewals, there's 2 documents I need to upload. In this case, the physical examination form and the continuing education course certificate. I'll go to the statements and signatures and go through and attest. Once I've saved everything, I'll click on the Pay Now button because I need to make the payment, and then I can click Preview to File. Now you'll see that renewals show up on the My Applications tab of the dashboard. And renewal requests do go through QA review. So that's something that everyone is going to have to do. Now let's get into some other things that you can do, but may or may not end up doing, because there's a lot of things you can do to manage your license. And it's all found under the Manage License button on the dashboard. When you click on it or hover over it, you'll see a drop down. And the contents of the drop down are going to vary depending on what licenses you have. The ones that are listed in this PowerPoint are the ones that apply to master fire suppression piping contractors. Now, one of the options is change from certificate only to class A, B, or C. This is for people who hold a certificate only master fire suppression piping contractor license and want to change it to class A, class B, or class C. Change to a different business is when you are going to switch your business affiliation to a different business using that function. Reissue card is if your license card was stolen, lost, or never received in the mail, you can ask DOB to send you a new one. Now, if your seal gets lost, stolen, or damaged, you can request a replacement seal. And I'm going to go through all of these different options, but I want to talk about what the options are before we get into how to do them. Next is retiring and shelving. And these are similar, but not quite the same. Retiring is when you're no longer working in the capacity of the license, and you're not going to be working in that capacity again. In that case, you can retire your license. If after that you want to begin working again, you would need to apply for a new license. Shelving, on the other hand, is when you're no longer working in that capacity, but you might do it again. That's when you would shelve your license, and that changes your license from a class A, B, or C into certificate only. In order to move back into the class A, B, or C, you would choose the change from certificate only to class A, B, or C option. But it's a less complicated option than starting over from scratch. And the last option that you're going to see is update business information. And that's for class A, B, or C because they're the ones that have an associated business. And under that, there's some transactions. You can do an address change, a name change, a telephone change. You can change partners or officers. And the one that may be most common, you can update or add insurance. So the process for all of these is very similar. So I'm going to go through them a little bit and we'll talk about how to do it. So change from certificate only to class A, B, or C. I'm going to use this as an example, but I'm only going to demonstrate some of the options. I'm not going to actually demonstrate this one. I will demonstrate when we get to things like change to a different business. So the change from certificate only to class A, B, or C will only appear for users who have Master Fire Suppression Piping Contractor certificate only licenses. You'll select it from the dropdown. You will then need to click the radio button for the license that's associated with the registration you're updating. I know this says filing rep, but it's the same process. And you'll click proceed. You'll confirm your choice by clicking next on the change pop-up window. The general information tab is going to be auto-filled from your existing license or registration information. Click save. The other tabs are also going to be auto-filled, all of that information. The system will gray out any sections that you are not allowed to update, but there will be things that you can update or need to update, and you'll update all tabs as required. Then on the Documents tab, you're going to upload all of your required documents. You'll sign the application on the Statements and Signatures tab. There is a fee for this upgrade. You'll pay the fee, and then you can submit your request. The approval process for this change registration type request will follow the same path as your initial application. And again, these change requests will appear on the My Applications tab of the DOB Now licensing dashboard. So let's talk about things that may be more common. For example, reissuing your card. You'll select Reissue Card for the Manage License drop-down menu, and then you'll select the radio button for the relevant license. The General Information tab is going to show up, and there is some information you need to enter before you can click Save. Specifically, you need to enter the reason for reissue. The options that may appear are stolen ID card, lost ID card, or never received ID card. That only shows up if you're requesting a second reissue. Once you enter that, you're going to be able to click Save, and an application number will be generated. The process to complete the reissue is the same as we just saw in the renewal process. You'll fill in all new or updated information, upload any required documents, and complete the attestation on the Statements and Signatures tab. You're going to pay the $50 fee for reissuing the license. And then you'll click Save and then preview the file to submit the application. This reissue application is then going to be reviewed by the licensing unit. And once the licensing unit has approved your request, you're going to get an email notification. And your new license card is going to be put in the mail within 10 business days. And again, this will show up on the My Applications tab of DOB Now licensing. So let me show this to you. Again, I need to sign out and change to a different login. So I have some licenses that have been issued. I'm going to click on Manage License, and we're going to reissue the card. I choose the license type that's appropriate. Let's choose the Master Fire Suppression Piping Contractor. And I have a request in process. So I need to delete that in order to show this to you. You can only have one request in process at a time. So let's try this again. I'm going to click Reissue Card. I'm going to click on the license. That's the appropriate one. And I need to select the reason for reissue, stolen or lost. I'm going to say I lost it. I'll fill in my license use, and then I can click Save. All of the tabs show up. I can go through them and update the information that needs to be updated. So for example, I cannot enter information here, but there may be other places I can enter information. In the Documents tab, I need to upload my documents. And then I need to attest, pay the $50 fee, and then click Preview to File. And like I said, it goes through QA review. And I'm going to delete this so that I can show you some of the other options. Now let's talk about replacement seal. And for the rest of these options, I'm going to focus on the bits that are different because most of the process is the same. You select your option for the manage license dropdown, you choose your license. You need to select a reason for replacement. Seal was lost, seal was stolen, or seal was damaged. Now, if you choose seal was damaged, you need to select the description of that damage. And the 4 options are the imprint is not visible, the handle is broken, the seal clip is broken, or the seal is worn out. You'll click Save. Any information that needs to be updated can be updated, but most information you cannot update. You'll need to, on the Statements and Signature tab, you'll need to click to attest. You'll pay the $50 fee if it is charged. It's not going to be charged in every circumstance. The system knows when it's charged and when it isn't. So if it shows up, you have to pay it. And then you'll click Preview to File and follow the instructions. So the only thing different in this is these 2 questions, the reason for replacement and the description of damage. So I'm not going to demo this to you because it's the same process. Let's talk about shelving or retiring. These may be 2 different transactions, but the process is exactly the same. So you'll select shelving or retiring from the dropdown. You'll select the license, and click Proceed. And then you need to answer on the General Information tab, what is your reason for shelving or retiring? The options are company has dissolved, company will dissolve, no longer performing work in New York City, business being sold, or other. Now, if you choose other, you will need to enter the other reason. There'll be a comments box. There's a second question that you need to answer, which is the status of your open permits or jobs. And you need to specify either you have transferred your open jobs to another licensee or you have closed all open jobs. You cannot shelve or retire your license with open jobs. So you need to do one of these 2 things for all open jobs. There's a $50 fee for it. You'll click Save. One of the things I do want to note, and this is slightly different, is that if you are shelving or retiring, either one, you need to make an appointment to go into the DOB office to return your ID card and your seal. So note, card and seal submission appointment, and then approved will only happen once you submit them. There are documents that you have to upload for shelving or retiring, and the documents will differ based on the reason for retiring or shelving that you choose. You'll complete your attestations and then click Preview to File to submit your request. And again, it shows up on the My Applications tab. And as I said, you will need to schedule an appointment to go in and return your card and your seal. And it's the same appointment process we already spoke about. Let's talk about updating business information, because this is slightly more different. Again, you're going to hover over Manage License, select Update Business Information, then select the relevant license and click Next. That's all standard. Now, you will need to specify what business you are updating, because remember, you can have 2 separate businesses. So you need to specify if you're updating the first business or the second, if you have 2. If you only have 1, you still need to specify it, but there's only 1 choice. And then you're going to need to answer the check boxes for the information that will be updated, just like we saw with renewing your license, and then click Proceed again. And as I showed you before, I'll show you this again. Not all options can be combined. The system is going to adjust to make it clear what you can and cannot combine. Now, the specific field you are updating will be open to allow you to input changes. So for example, if you say you're updating your business telephone, then that field will not be grayed out. You can enter your information, and then you'll click Save once all the fields are updated. If documents are required, they're going to be listed on the Documents tab, Upload as necessary. Attest on the Statements and Signatures tab, and then click Save and Preview to File. Now, because this is a business transaction, this request will appear on the business approval tab of the dashboard. So let me show this to you. So we're going to update our business information for our master fire suppression piping contractor license. Now it asks me what I'm updating. And notice as I click things, some things can be done together and some things can only be done on their own. I'm going to demo updating or adding insurance because I suspect that's one of the more common things that you have to do. So you'll click update or / add insurance and click proceed. And one of the nice things is that because this is common enough, there are some instructions here about how to do it. So first you need to click save. And the associated businesses will show up here. It may be one or it may be two. Click view to open the business that you're updating the insurance for. And none of this information is changeable until you get down to your insurance information. So when I first did this, I chose to waive the workers' compensation insurance, but now I got workers' compensation insurance. So I need to enter my information. And I just got it. It started on the 1st. And so it ends a year later. And I enter my broker information. And then I click save. Wow. Now there is some information missing here because I created this early in the process. We'll go back to the filing. Once you've entered your information and uploaded your documents, you'll be back in the filing. And now we're going to go into the statements and signatures tab and click the attestation. At this point, you can save and submit. And like I said, the business information update will show up on the business approval tab of the dashboard. Let's talk a little bit about what happens if you need to update your name or address. This is actually not done through the license, manage license tab, but it's done through the manage profile tab. You're going to hover over the manage my profile button and select manage profile. And then you have the option change name, change address, or change name and address. And the reason this is on manage profile is because it will apply across the board to every license you have. And it will also apply to any job filings that you are associated with. It will change your information. So you'll make your selection. You'll click yes on the notification and the confirm pop up. And you're going to be brought into a new window where you're going to see your existing name and address. And you'll see blank boxes to enter new information. Now, you'll only see name information if you're changing your name. You'll only see address information if you're changing your address. If you're changing both, you'll see both. Update your information, click save, and then you'll need to add some documents. If you are changing your name, you're going to need to upload proof of name change. If you're changing your address, you need to upload proof of residence. And the system tells you what the options are. You're going to need to attest by clicking the checkbox. Then you'll click save. There's a $50 fee that you need to pay. And then you'll click preview to file. It's a QA process. And once the licensing unit has approved your request, you will receive an email notification when it's approved. And you'll get your new license card in the mail within 10 business days. So let me show this to you briefly. So I'm going to delete this and show you, manage my profile. I'm going to just update my address for this one. So it shows me the existing name, the existing address. I enter my new information. Click save. And then on the documents, because I'm only changing my address, I only need to upload proof of residence. I don't need to upload proof of name change if my name's not changing. I upload my document, I attest on the statements and signatures, I click save. If there's a fee, it'll show up here, and then I click preview to file. And this does not show up on the My Applications nor on the Business Approval. It shows up on the My Requests tab. I'm going to delete that because we're not actually going to change anything right now. This was just a demo. So before we open up the floor to questions, I want to go through some important notes. The information in an approved DOB Now licensing application creates a DOB Now profile. When you enter the email address associated with the DOB Now profile into a filing in DOB Now Build or DOB Now Safety or DOB Now Biz Options, it's going to auto-populate with the information from your license. Licenses that are issued in DOB Now licensing are automatically reflected in your DOB Now profile and no longer require authentication. An NYCID account is required to access DOB Now, as we discussed. An e-filing account is no longer needed, and updates made in e-filing will not sync with your DOB Now profile. Any changes to these licenses are made directly in DOB Now licensing, and that applies whether you have a license now and you're updating it or whether you're getting a new license after this goes live. Thank you very much for your time today, and we're now going to have some time for questions and answers.